Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lauren. For this week's video, I'll be doing my first ever knitting podcast, so I'll be talking about finished objects, whips, and yarn acquisitions, everything to date. So grab a cup of coffee and your current whip and let's get started. So the first finished object I'd like to talk about is the Stay Up Till Dawn sweater by Kudafakika. The Stay Up Till Dawn sweater is actually the first sweater I ever knit, and the only project I worked on before this one was a scarf. So it was a great intro project to doing increases, decreases, ribbing, but great first project to start on for sweaters. Everything after this I knit in 4mm needles, so I'm kind of missing working on like 8mm needles because it's just like such a chunky, squishy fabric, so I might come back to bigger or chunkier knits. But for now, it was a great intro project and I really enjoyed knitting it. I believe I used the yarn Drops Wish in the shade 02, and I believe it took me about 2 to 3 months, which isn't very fast in hindsight, but at the time it was really fast for me. But I really enjoyed this project and I highly recommend it to anyone looking into going into sweaters. The second finished object I wanted to talk about is my green raglan sweater. For this project, I didn't use a pattern. I kind of had a vision in my mind of what I wanted to knit, and after knitting the Stay Up Till Dawn sweater, I had a brief idea of how raglan sweaters are knit. So I actually went to this yarn shop in Monterey, California called Monarch Knitting with my grandma, and I went in with the intention of finding like the perfect green yarn, and I kid you not, the first yarn I set my eyes on was this beautiful mossy green. I believe it's the color Fern Gully by Sea Change Fibers. I instantly saw it and I knew I wanted to knit like the perfect raglan green sweater. So I knit this sweater all last summer, about a year ago, while I was living in Scottsdale with my dad. But it's your basic, I'll show you, it's a basic raglan, and then I didn't do many decreases on the sleeve, so it's just like a basic tube sleeve, and then I knit 2 stitches together to make the cuff sleeve. And then for the body, same thing. I didn't do any decreases. And then just like some thick ribbing. But super easy design. I was thinking of putting together a pattern, but it's kind of on pause right now because I'm trying to make it extremely size inclusive, and I'm trying to figure out how to grade the different sizes. So that's a whole other situation right now. But I really enjoyed this knit, and I'm knitting actually a second one, which you'll see in my whips later on. So my third finished object is My Favorite Things Knitwear sweater number 23 in navy. So I knit this sweater last fall, so a little under a year ago, and I really enjoyed it. And it was something new because you have to knit starting on the shoulders, going down, and then picking up stitches, and then knitting like the sleeves outward, and then knitting the collar. But I totally messed up the gauge swatch, so it's way too big, so I've actually started to unravel the sweater. Like, I've already unraveled the collar, I've unraveled both of the sleeves, and I'm working on reusing the yarn to knit a sweater for my boyfriend Cameron. He wears a lot of navy, works out great. Although I messed up the sweater and I messed up the gauge swatch, I still really enjoyed knitting the sweater. I knit it actually in Knitting for Olive, Heavy Merino, and navy, as well as their mohair also in navy. But I really love the color and I love the pattern. It was just on me that I messed up the gauge swatch. So I might knit it again in a different color for myself and then just size down my needles. But once again, enjoyed the pattern, enjoyed the sweater, and I'm really happy I'm able to reuse the yarn. So for finished objects 4 and 5, I have the Lighthouse Beanie by Kudafakika, as well as the Lollipop Mittens, also from Kudafakika. So both the beanie and the mittens are knit with 1 strand of Sunday and 2 strands of Rowan Kid Silk Haze. I really enjoyed these 2 projects because they opened up my eyes to what I could do as a knitter. For example, the decreases at the top of the beanie really scared me, and for the mittens, I had no idea how to do the thumb or once again the decreases at the top of the mitten, but completing both of these projects gave me a lot of confidence as a knitter, and now I kind of feel like I can take on more projects. Like for example, right now cables feel scary, so this next winter I want to knit more cables, but these were great projects to kind of open up what projects I felt like I could take on, if that makes any sense. Because raglan sweaters are my happy place, and it's where I feel most confident and comfortable. So knitting these 2 projects of course stressed me out and felt like I was out of my comfort zone, but it was very worth it to try something new. So next are my whips. I have quite a few right now, but I wanted to start with the one I've been working on the most and I'm closest to finishing, and that is my Monday sweater by Petite Knit. For my Monday sweater, I'm knitting it in this gorgeous chocolate brown. It's knit in one strand of sock yarn and one strand of mohair. For the sock yarn, I'm using Peary by Brooklyn Tweed, and I believe the color Loom. And for the mohair, I'm using Super Kid Mohair by Lana Grossa, and it's in a slightly lighter brown, but I really like the color that they create, like the color of fabric. But the project has been like flying off of my needles. I've been knitting it so fast. Like last weekend, I finished all the body. This weekend, I finished my first sleeve, and next weekend, I should finish the second sleeve and get it blocked. One thing I want to add about the Monday sweater is I have loved this pattern so much. I want to knit this pattern in more colors. So I want to knit like the deepest, richest black. I also love the color Crush by Hedgehog Fibers, so also do one in Crush. But we'll see, maybe by the end of the year, one or two more. But I've really enjoyed this pattern simply because it's in my comfort zone. But it's also a beautiful pattern. We'll see what happens, but fingers crossed I can finish one or two more by the end of the year. My second whip is the Josephine Vest by Jamie Creates in this beautiful mint green color. For the Josephine Vest, it's knit with one strand of mohair, so I'm using the shade Celadon by Hugh Loco. There's a few things I really enjoyed about this pattern. The fact that it's one skein of mohair is great, but also it's a great intro to lace. I've never done lace before, and I've really been enjoying patterns that kind of teach me a new technique or new skill. For example, in the winter, I want to learn how to do cables, so my goal is to do a cable pattern. This is a great intro to lace, and I've really enjoyed it. It's a simple chart, and it's going down the front and back of the sweater vest. But here it is right here. But really gorgeous. So if you have like one-off skein of mohair, I highly recommend doing this pattern because it's super easy and I've knitted up super fast. I just haven't picked it up in a while. But I've really been enjoying this pattern by Jamie Creates. In the future, I do want to knit another pattern by her. She has gorgeous, chunky knit patterns, like chunky sweater vests, chunky sweaters. I know she recently came out with a book, but I really want to try more projects from Jamie Creates. For my final knitting whip, I'm working on my second raglan sweater, and I'm knitting it in this beautiful teal color. This sweater is actually for my mom. One of her favorite colors is teal, so I thought knitting this in this color would be perfect for her. It's the color Nottingham by Green Letter Day. It's the same exact teal on camera as it is in person. It's just gorgeous. The entire sweater is knit with one strand of DK merino yarn. And I've really been enjoying it. I actually haven't picked it up in a while, so I was hoping if I started on the sleeves, I could avoid Sleeve Island and get it done more quickly. Not true. I finished one sleeve and then I haven't picked it up since. It's been a few weeks. So hopefully after I finish my brown Monday sweater, I'll move on to this one and get it finished. Thankfully, I don't plan to give it to her until maybe about November. That's when her birthday is. So I do have some wiggle room, but my hope is to get it done maybe in fall. My final whip actually is crochet instead of knitting, and it is my big green blanket. This project was meant to be like the big project of 2024 to get it all done in 1 year. I think it'll take me longer than that, but the hope is to have 30 of these tiles and hand sew them all together. So I've crocheted up 10 of them, blocked 10 as well, but I'm looking to hand sew them all together. Right now I have 4 hand sewn together. So I'm working on getting the first 10 sewn together, and then I'll go on to the next 10 crocheting them. But originally started with the Field Day collection by Green Letter Day and being like, oh my gosh, I bought it to myself as a graduation present. It was about, I think, 15 to 18 shades of green, and so I thought it'd be perfect to make a huge blanket out of it. It's an undertaking, to say the least, because it is going to take me a while, most likely over a year, but I have really been enjoying it. I set it down a while ago and I haven't picked it back up because I have so many whips right now. Usually I'm like a monogamous knitter. I work on one project at once, but I got a little too excited and kind of cast on too many. So my hope is after I get a few done, I'll go back onto this project and get it done within the next year, year and a half. The last thing I'd like to say about this project is I want to do an in-depth video explaining how I put it together, because I'm not using a pattern and it's just been such a fun project and a slow burn. I'd love to do a full video breaking down how to make it, what yarn I use, because yes, I did use the Field Day collection, which by the way, it's right here on my mood board, but I also used yarns from different companies. For example, although the main green is from the Field Day collection, this is Hedgehog Fibers. For this one in the middle, it's Hue Loco. And for this one, it's actually Storyteller yarn. I'd like to break down all the yarn I used, how much yarn I ended up buying, overall, just everything about the project, because it's been really fun. And although I haven't been working on it, I have been dying to pick it back up. Alright, next onto yarn I have purchased in the last month, maybe 2 months. I'm gonna say this already, I've ordered a lot of yarn that I've pre-ordered, so I can't show you physically, but I'll insert pictures of what I ordered and explain it all, so on and so forth. First, I will start with the Purple May Club by Black Elephant Yarns. It is the set I think called Elysium. It is 5 shades of purple yarn going from lavender all the way to like a deep jewel tones, and they each have like speckles of rainbow in it. I am so excited for this yarn to come in the mail. I got the notification a few days ago that it's on its way, but I didn't have an exact pattern in mind, but I knew I wanted to do a sweater that started maybe at the lavender and then ombre'd its way down to the jewel toned purple. But I was really in a slump when I saw this yarn, and it kind of brought some inspiration back into me because I really wasn't feeling creative. I wasn't feeling like knitting. And this yarn was super important just because it kind of brought back that creativity and inspiration. So the next yarn order I'm excited for is 1 skein of Rowan Kid Silk Haze and 1 skein of Double Sunday. So my hope is to find the deepest, richest combination of black yarn, because often black yarns almost lean towards charcoal, kind of like that concept where someone made the blackest paint ever. That's kind of what I'm going for, because I had this dilemma when I was finding a mohair for my brown sweater. Like, this is a deep brown, but it's not as deep as it could be, and I couldn't find anything anywhere that was like a extremely rich deep brown. So I saw this mohair one day, the Rowan Kid Silk, I think in the shade Wicked. It was so deep, or at least it did online, looked deep. It just inspired me, and I was like, you know what, I love knitting with beautiful colors, but I think finding the deepest shade of black is its own color, even though it isn't technically colorful. So my hope is find the deepest shade of black, knit a Monday sweater with it. So I just ordered 1 skein of each, just to see if it's actually the color it is portrayed online, because I have ordered yarn online and I get it in the mail and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a completely different shade of pink. Anyways, that's my hope by ordering 1 skein of each. For my next yarn order, Green Letter Day had a birthday sale, I think a few weeks ago, where you can pre-order yarn. I got a shade of light blue, forest green, and a jewel toned purple. I'm gonna be honest, I can't remember why I ordered them. I think all the colors were just gorgeous in general. I have a lot for yarn, but I can't remember what project I had in mind. I know I've been meaning to knit some forest green mittens, so that's what I'll use that skein for. I've never knit with light blue, so I think that's why I ordered it. And the jewel toned purple I think was just gorgeous, which I'll show you when it comes in the mail, and I'll insert a picture while it's what they look like. But this is the first time I've ordered yarn and I can't remember why, so maybe it'll come back to me, but we'll see. Finally, I wanted to talk about yarn that I ordered and came in the mail. So first, I have these 3 skeins from Hue Loco. It is Chartreuse, Mulberry, and Jewel. So I ordered these actually for a rainbow sweater I'm working on. I want to make a sweater that's a perfect ombre of like red to either purple or like a mulberry color. So I'll show you later on. I'll do a whole video on it, but that's what these 3 skeins were for. I also ordered this pumpkin orange for the same reason, for that rainbow sweater, but it is the Cascade Heritage Mini. This is slightly bigger than a sock mini. I think it's about 33 grams. Alright, the last bit of yarn that I ordered that came in the mail, it's also for that rainbow sweater, but I got about 4 skeins of mohair from Meijo. I have this apricot color, mimosa color, and mulberry, and then I got 1 more skein of mohair, but it's not for the rainbow sweater. There's Luna. But it's just white. I don't own any white mohair, so I figured it'd be good to have on hand. Thank you so much for watching. If you also have a project you're excited about, let me know in the comments below, but I'll see you next week.